Alright everyone, welcome to another Flatcap interview. We're travelling, we're on the road for this one, but we're quite excited. I've got Al here from Aussie band Marching Orders. Thanks for coming on, mate.
No worries.
We're going to find out a little bit about the band because they've had a bit of a hiatus, but they're back at the minute for a specific reason. But I guess the first question is, Marching Orders, when originally did it all start up?
I suppose it was, was it 2002, I think? So going back, that's 21 years now, so a fair way back.
Right.
Me and my mate, Gavin, I suppose we were both into Oi, and there weren't really any Oi bands in Melbourne at the time. I mean, you'd had sort of some Oi street punk related bands like GGF and Charter 77 and various others in the sort of late 90s, early noughts, and most of those bands disappeared or they changed their style a little bit. So, but an actual sort of Oi skinhead kind of band, I guess that was still sort of frowned upon then. So you didn't see many in Australia, let alone Melbourne. So
was that hard to get a following, or was there a core of people that had come to the shows anyway? There must have been some sort of scene around it, do you think?
Yeah, I mean that's sort of one of the reasons we got together was we had our group of mates and we thought, well, let's just put a band together and play some proper Oi and it was just, we'd been out drinking one night and we came home and we just sort of started messing around. Oh, that's a good song. I think it was that song Spirit of the Anzac. It actually doesn't appear until the second EP, but that was the very first song anyway, and we were sort of messing around with that, going, oh yeah, that could be a good song. Let's do something with that. But
so there was the two of you originally. Who else did you pull into the band and what have you to get it? I mean, now everybody probably put something up on social media, but it wouldn't have probably been quite that easy back then to get.
No, I don't think we had any. I don't think we had any social media accounts then.
Nah.
Did MySpace even exist then? I don't know whether it did or not. I'm not sure, but I mean, I had a MySpace page around that time, but I don't think we had any band stuff like that. It was just word of mouth and that first lineup never actually played a gig. We rehearsed together a few times and we had a couple of lineup changes before we'd even played a show. And so the first show ended up, the first thing we did was record a 3-track EP, and that was Darren on drums and Gabe on guitar, Gavin on bass and me on vocals. But we'd switched around because the very first rehearsal we had, I actually played the drums. I wasn't really a drummer, but we thought, well, someone needs to play the drums.
Okay. Well, that's good because that's sort of a bit DIY-ish as well, isn't it? Do it yourself. Let's get in there and get on with it and see what happens, sort of thing. Which that's in the spirit of all the old punk bands and stuff like that, I think. What about the band name and that? Was there any story behind that? How did that sort of come about?
Yeah, well, we sort of, this band we did the recording with, we planned on playing a show, and then I think Gabe wanted to go in different directions, so he kind of, eventually left the band, and Gavin, he was still sort of around, but, I don't think he was just sort of take it or leave it, and I think it was just mostly me and Darren that wanted to sort of pursue it, and then of course, he got married to an Australian girl, and he was from Yorkshire originally. So they moved back to Hull, which was where he was from.
Well, no, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I'm from Leicester, but
okay.
I think Paul's probably had a bit of a reputation over the years. So,
But no, he moved back there, so it was just me on my own. I thought, well, what do I do now? And then I think about a year went by, and I was sort of speaking to a few people, and I'd been friends with Chris and Ben. And Chris just happened to play drums and Ben happened to play guitar, so I thought, alright, well, let's put a band together. And then a friend of theirs called Ander, who played bass, came along as well, and that was sort of the very first lineup, and we started doing shows. The very first show we did was under the name of Blacklist, because we were Blacklist or Blacklisted, I can't remember, one of the two. And we sort of thought, because we were struggling to come up with a name, and then we came up with that, and then we sort of thought, well, you know, they'll have to do the job. And we found there was another band in Melbourne that had the same name, and we just sort of thought, well, you know, we've got to do something different. Because we'd actually, the previous lineup had come up with the name Marching Orders, that's right, and I sort of was thinking, oh, we'll start something new, and we called it something else, and then I sort of thought, well, why don't we just go back to the name Marching Orders, and everyone was into it, so
I think it sort of fits in with the genre and
yeah,
the scene, I suppose, doesn't it? You know.
Well, it's a sort of a slang expression, I suppose. It doesn't get used that often now, but it's more, you know, someone gives you your marching orders, like, you know, throws you out of the pub or something like that. Yeah. So that's sort of where it came from.
So, what about influences and that? You know, obviously you're into that sort of music. Was there any sort of specific bands that fueled your interest in the scene and stuff like that?
I suppose the very first oi bands I ever heard were probably The Business, Angelic Upstarts, and then punk bands, you know, Exploited, GBH, Infrared, that sort of stuff. And then it was off the Oi Chartbusters compilations that came out. There was about 4 of those, and and they pretty much had, you know, every sort of band that would become well known later on them. So that's sort of
that's cool. So they were mainly UK bands, would you? Because
I mean, I always rated the Anti-Heroes, the American band, highly as well. And there were some good punk bands in Melbourne, but there weren't really any oi bands to follow. So I suppose, getting back to what we were saying before, we came along and thought, well, Melbourne needs to have an oi band, so we're going to do it, and it doesn't matter, you know, if people don't like the skinhead thing, we're just going to do it anyway. And that's what we did, and surprisingly, we started off just playing to our mates, but then we got a really good following.
Cool.
There was a patch there where, sort of, I don't know, 2005, around there, where we could go and play in Bayswater or Croydon or something out in the suburbs, and there'd be 200 or 300 kids that would want to come and see it.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
So I don't think there's that sort of crowd now, but you know, it goes in waves, and hopefully it'll come back again. You never know.
So do you think what you did it sort of encourage other people to follow that lead? Were there other bands sort of coming up because of what you were doing? Because obviously if you're getting 200 or 300 people to a show, then there might be other kids out there thinking, oh, yeah, we can do this as well, sort of thing. So did it create a bigger scene, do you think?
I think it did. And it also sort of encouraged you know, punk bands, oi bands, ska bands to all sort of play shows together, like in St Kilda at the Esplanade. That's totally changed now, that place. But there was a time there where they would book out the Gershwin room at the back, which, you know, probably holds about 600 people or something. And you could get several hundred in there and fill the place up just with oi bands and punk bands. And,
that's cool.
So the scene did sort of grow around us a little bit, and then sort of interstate, a few bands started to appear with that similar sort of Aussie rock meets oi sound. Whether we had anything to do with that, I don't know, but they're sort of developed into a pretty good scene. You know, many of those bands are still around today. So that's good.
So I suppose like a lot of bands, a lot of bands have got some sort of a time frame, if you like, where everybody's into it, and then gradually it sort of goes on the wane and what have you. And that, what sort of what happened with the original marching orders because you must have sort of stopped at some point?
Well,
just run its course, I presume.
I mean, it probably got to about 2013, 2014, and when the second album came out, and I mean, me personally, I thought we were at our peak then. We were at our height, and our popularity in Europe was probably at its peak as well. I was sort of hoping to tour again, because we'd toured in 2011 Europe, and then 2008 in America, and we got to that point where we could have done, you know, a much bigger and better tour, which is sort of what I wanted to do. But a couple of members, I think they just lost interest, and you know, they just didn't want to do it anymore. I think we had a pretty good run, really, though. Like we had, I mean, Ander left the band, and Doug joined up and then Brod joined up as well. So, you know, there were a few sort of switches in the lineup here and there, but not nothing compared to other bands that I've been in where it changes constantly. But so we had a pretty good run, and I guess it got to that point where a couple of them just weren't really that interested anymore.
Well, it must get hard. I mean, we see it a lot with bands that we talk to, and that, you know, it's hard work, and you know, family and stuff, and people get married, they have kids, and all that sort of thing. It's all extra pressure on a band and that. So but here we are now. We're over here in Melbourne, and marching orders are back together. So I know you're supporting the Copy Rejects. Was this did the band get back together specifically for this show? And if so, how did that sort of come about?
Well, I got an offer from Dave at the Bendigo, who, you know, we've booked shows with for years and years, and he sort of said, look, Cockney Regis are coming out, do you guys want to support them? And we sort of thought, gee, you know, we'd love to do that. So I got onto the rest of the band and sort of said, look, you know, this is, if we're ever going to play a gig, this is the one to play. So, so I think the two other members who sort of had lost interest, they were still around, but you know, both of them just sort of said, well, you know, you guys can do it if you want, do it as a three-piece or do it with some other people or something like that. So Ben and Phil left, and the other guys sort of agreed that, you know, we'd like to do it, let's just try and find some other people. So we asked Luke and Brendan, did they want to be involved? And they were both keen, they pretty much jumped on board straight away, and we've been rehearsing with them ever since, and I think we've just gotten to a point where the sound is back up to where it needs to be, and
exciting.
Looking forward to playing our first show together. So,
And on the tail end of that, you've got is it a festival in Europe to go and do?
Pogo Roche Festival in Dresden. So
I mean, the Germans love all this stuff.
That's probably
scene and that there for sure.
That's probably where the biggest following is really for sort of any punk or oi bands that, you know, head into Europe and especially Germany.
Yeah. So so we know about them too. Will you just see how it goes, or are you planning to maybe keep the band going and do a bit more with it if everything went well and everyone was keen, or is it just going to be these two and we'll call it a day again? What's the thoughts, sort of thing?
The plan is to
if you don't have to tell us if you don't want to.
There's a few things anyway. I think we're in February now, so, and then Rejects gig is tomorrow night, so it's okay to say. But look, initially we thought we might just do this one show. You know, just come together and play a show just for fun, and then, you know, that'll be that. But then as we started jamming, and then we got to thinking, well, you know, why don't we tour again? And everybody was keen. So I thought, well, let's do it. So I just contacted some people I knew over in Europe, and we got on that festival bill, and it hasn't been announced yet, but I think it probably will be by the time the video comes out. That we are actually at a tour of Europe as well.
Brilliant.
Hopefully, maybe about 10 shows, something like that.
Yeah, that's cool. It's exciting, eh?
So that'll be a lot of fun. I mean, I did one with Razor Cut in 2015. It doesn't seem that long ago, but it was actually 8 years ago.
That's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's cool. So I guess you'll see how the tour goes, and what time of year is that? Are you going to try and get on Rebellion? Are you in the UK for Rebellion at all?
No, I think that's just a bit because pretty much everybody in the band has kids or wives and jobs now, so it's just a case of we can get over there for 2 or 3 weeks and then pretty much come straight back again. So I think the gap between Rebellion and Pogo Roche is probably too big.
Too much, okay.
So I mean, I'd love to. I was born in England originally, so I'd love to play England. But I mean, if a really good show is offered to us and then we can sort of cover some of our costs, then we would do it. But more than likely, the shows will be Germany, France, probably Czech Republic.
I mean, sometimes these things, it's like, you know, you follow a dream that was probably there before you sort of, you know, people settle down and go to a normal sort of life, and you've got an opportunity to sort of resurrect that sort of dream a little bit. And I guess trying to keep your feet on the ground can be hard as well for some people. Because if it's going well and you know there's a lot of people there, you're getting a lot of interest. It's like, oh, this is what I always wanted to do, you know. But you've still got to come back and pay the bills and get on with the rest of it. And obviously, if there's partners and kids involved, it's a lot harder. Do you think the band would you know do some new music if you, or do you think you will stick with?
I've written it. Just it's getting a bit warm now.
It's not the questions, are they?
Yeah, I mean that's initially. I suppose this Cockney Rejects show and the tour coincides with it's not really a re-release, but I suppose it's all the singles and tracks off compilations, etc. that have gone on the Brothers in Arms double LP that's just come out. And we put that out, and that's with the old lineup. It does have a bunch of new songs on there that we didn't release at the time, but I suppose that came out, and we sort of got to thinking, well, you know, could we do something else? And we sort of in the far off future we might, and then. Once we decided we were actually going to do a festival show and then a tour, we sort of thought, well, it'd be nice to have a new release.
Yeah, so, have something to go with it, eh?
Yeah. Whether it'll be ready in time, I don't know. But I've written 4 songs and Rod's written 2 or 3 as well. So we're hoping to do an EP anyway, but we'll just
see where it takes. Yeah. Oh, excellent. Oh, that's cool. Because I remember. I got a couple of Razor Cut albums off you a while back, and I think I was questioning you then about them reforming, whether you would bring them back, but
probably not. I mean, I liked that band. Like we definitely, did do some
good releases. Was that your next band after Marching Orders?
Yeah, I mean, technically Marching Orders still existed, but we weren't doing anything. So and Razor Cut, they had another singer for their first 7-inch they did, and he left, so I jumped in and said, all right, I'll give it a go. And we ended up doing 2 albums and a tour, so it was good fun. But then it all just sort of died down, and so I was married to the bass player, and then we got divorced, so that band is unlikely to. We actually get along. We get along really well, but it's unlikely to exist again. Razor Cut. So
fair enough. All right. Well, we're gonna film the guys tomorrow night. So hopefully you'll get to see this first. So hopefully you'll tune in after when we've put this up to watch the footage from the film as well. I think it's great. I think you've got a lot of interest, and I suppose it could probably go as far as you want to go with it, and with time restraints and stuff like that. But I wish you all the luck with it, and hopefully we'll see you in Adelaide, maybe.
Yeah, hopefully we can do interstate shows.
Once you've conquered Europe and done that, you come back and do a few interstate shows. I
think it's probably been 15 years since we played Adelaide. So
well, a lot of people do miss us out. The Rejects aren't playing there this time. We filmed them when they came last time. It was the first Australian show they'd ever done. But they're not back this time for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask Mickey later on. What happened,
we've thought about doing some interstate shows. It all just depends. Because everyone's got to save their airfares, etc. to get to Europe. So if we're looking okay money wise, then we might be able to, do some interstate shows.
Apart from getting to Europe, it's probably easier getting around Europe from venue to venue than it is here, because they're probably a lot closer. Like you said, you've got to pretty much fly everywhere or do what we've done, like a 8-hour drive from Melbourne to Adelaide. Or, you don't get a speeding fine or out like that on the way. But
that's it.
All right, Al. Well, thanks for coming on. I
No
appreciate
worries,
your
thanks
time.
very
I
much
look
for the
forward to
interview.
seeing the show tomorrow night, and all the best with it.
All right, thanks very
Thanks,
much.
mate.
See you tomorrow night.
Cheers. Cheers, everyone.